All right, so today is not just another congressional hearing. Today is a day of reckoning, or at least that's what I hope. For years, the American people, myself included, were told to obey, stay silent, trust the experts, stop asking questions. Families watched loved ones die behind hospital doors. I'm sure some of you have lost family members. Parents were separated from their kids. Small businesses were destroyed. Churches were closed. Careers were ended and threatened. And anyone who dared challenge Anthony Fauci was treated like an enemy of, we'll call it science, right? Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Let me know how the audio is. But this morning, the questions are no longer coming from a concerned parent or a doctor or an American who was censored online. They're coming from a guy by the name of Senator Rand Paul. He's the one that's put this show on the road, so to speak. And they're going to do this before the United States Congress. Now, let me be clear. This is not about vengeance. I think it's about accountability. I know a lot of us want retribution. And I think this is about every husband who never got to say goodbye to his wife, every daughter who watched her father disappear behind a hospital curtain, maybe a shower curtain. Remember you had to wear the mask and stuff? Every American who was told the government knew best, only to discover later that, maybe the government didn't know best. Maybe they withheld some information. Maybe they distorted it or they dismissed it. Now, what I've got up here on the screen is the pardon, the grant of clemency signed by Joe Autopen Biden, or maybe it was signed by Joe. But why did this guy need a pardon if everything was okay? I'd love to get your opinion in the chat. What do you think? A lot of people in the chat think that Fauci is going to plead the fifth. Now, I pulled some information here, and he can plead the fifth. He absolutely can. Now, whether or not he does, I've got it right here. I ran this through my favorite Grok, right? Pleading the fifth would not revoke Fauci's pardon. Biden's pardon was full and unconditional. It covers federal offenses Fauci may have committed from January of 2014 through January 2025. And this is while he was working at NIAID, the White House COVID teams, or as chief medical advisor. Nothing in the warrant says the pardon disappears if he refuses to testify. It says here the bigger legal issue runs in the opposite direction. Assuming the pardon is valid and accepted, Fauci may lose the ability to invoke the fifth regarding conduct covered during that time period. Because he no longer faces federal prosecutions for those acts, Supreme Court precedent says an accepted pardon generally eliminates the Fifth Amendment objection as to the pardon defenses. And we can pull this up here. That's the pardon itself. And then here is the Article S2C1 3.6, rejection of a pardon. I'm no lawyer, I'm no legal expert, but I know this is garbage. This is trash. If there's some way that they could rule that the auto pen was not valid, that's where we get the guy. That's where we get him. But I don't know. I'm sure we've got some legal experts in the chat. We've got about 1,500 people in there. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be going live as soon as this trial starts. All right, I don't think it's a trial. We can't call it a trial. There's no judge. There's just a bunch of clowns in Congress. And I want to ask the question in the chat. Will Congress hold him accountable? Jesse Waters did a great job here last night, and this was a really good coverage. I want to play a little bit of this. Let me know, do you think Congress will hold him accountable? Or is this a perfectly timed distraction for the SAVE Act I'm kind of on the fence on both of these things.
And we just found his other diary. It goes back to the early 2000s. The theme is the same. He's been on a crusade for power and fame. Dear Diary, extensive interview with Dan Rather, very nice person. We related well, and he told his producer that I was a superstar. The Fauci-meister believed his own press clippings, and eventually he thought of himself as a star among stars. Dear Diary, big surprise was that Bono made a video that was shown in which he lauded me as a true global hero and one of the most important people in the world over the past many decades. Very flattering and in keeping with how kind Bono has been to me over the years. Fauci was a smitten kitten. It was almost as if he thought Bono was seducing him. Dear Diary, amazingly, in the middle of the concert in front of 25,000 people, Bono dedicated a song, Miracle Drug, to me. Fauci was infatuated with himself. Attention was...
This guy's diary is disgusting with the amount of garbage that he put in there. And you can go and check out this. I had a link to this whole thing. The testimony is going to start at 8:30, so we've got about 20 minutes. This testimony that he came out with, Rand Paul put it up, and Tony says Congress will do nothing just like they always do. I really want them to surprise me. This case file, Rand Paul put this all together. It's called the Reading Room, and you can see, and it's disgusting. But here's what bothers me. How many times has Rand Paul said that he was going to do something? How many times has Rand Paul followed through on anything? I mean, look, now here's this legal expert confirms Fauci can be criminally prosecuted if he commits perjury today. And that's kind of the reason I don't think he's going to say a lot. Because Fauci's like a hero, man. He became the face of this entire sham, I think is what we want to call it. He accepted power, praise. You see his diary entries there. It's like a 13-year-old girl. But now he's got to answer for his actions, the decisions, contradictions. There's a lot of unanswered questions. In the chat, what is the number one question that you would like to see him forced to answer? Forced to answer. Let me ask you this. Put a 1 if you followed Fauci's directions. Put a 2 if you didn't, and you know what I'm talking about. I believe as a nation, we have to investigate this guy. We have to investigate this. If not, I think we lose some credibility. And maybe today America learns whether Fauci will tell the truth, plead the fifth, or hide behind that damn pardon that protected him. There's a lot of 2s in there for people that did not. But before Rand Paul asked the first question about what Joe Biden did on his way out the door, I think that is a big question. I want you to think about that. Before Fauci was charged with a crime, before a jury examined the evidence, and before the American people received complete answers, Joe Biden put a presidential shield around one of the most powerful unelected officials in modern American history. I mean, this is a modern-day Joseph Mengele. Do you think in the chat that he will answer any questions? Do you legitimately think he will answer any questions? I want to play this. This legal expert that Fox brought on did a good job of, I would say, connecting some dots here that a lot of us probably don't understand, or at least I didn't understand because I'm not a lawyer. Listen to what they say here.
Expressed by well-known virologists, go down and down and down. He's either lying then or is he lying to his diary? Who is it? And tell us now. And you're right, Brian, he can't claim that the pardon would cover any of his answers now. You can only be pardoned for lying to Congress from before the pardon. If he commits a lie before Congress now, he'll be committing a federal crime and could be prosecuted.
I mean, he's saying, I didn't shut anybody down. I never shut any schools down. And then we find out in his diary, spoke with Bill de Blasio, mayor of New York City, convinced him, based on what I was saying publicly in my conversation, to shut down New York City schools. Had a similar call with Ann O'Leary and Governor Gavin Newsom of California. Between our conversations and our TV appearances, he shut down the schools. So what are you saying you had nothing to do with the shutdowns that in retrospect were totally unnecessary and kids were never in danger?
Look, he's obviously running from this. This is one of the greatest public policy disasters in the history of the American Republic, where experts like him overreacted to the virus, shut down the economy at costs of hundreds of billions of dollars, interfered with the everyday lives of every single American, and infringed on all of our individual freedoms. And so now, of course, he's trying to pretend he had nothing to do with it. But as you say, in the diary, he records pretty meticulously all these governors, mayors, Mayor de Blasio in New York, Governor Newsom in California, urging them to shut down bars, restaurants, schools, and now he's pretending he didn't do that. So if you're a senator, you would say, were you telling the truth in public when you said you had nothing to do with it? Did you lie your diary? What was actually true in your mind? Tell us.
What do we believe here? I've got a poll in the chat. Will he plead the fifth? Will he plead the fifth? This could be the biggest nothing burger ever. I mean, this really could. I found the website. I've got that up. I think Fauci could just plead the fifth and not say anything. Not say anything. And if he does, if he just takes the fifth, what does this make the Republicans in Congress look like? The other big problem we've got in America right now is the SAVE Act. I made a video yesterday just in my truck talking about how Thune is the problem, but the solution is the Republicans. They have to take blame for this. I believe the Republican Congress has to take blame for this. They have to. No member of the Senate has stepped forward to call for John Thune to be removed. No member of Congress has stepped up and said Mike Johnson should be removed. This could just be a big dog and pony show to make us all feel better. That's what I think this could be.
Crack. Fauci's photo shoots for GQ made him feel like he was the belle of the ball. Dear Diary, the fashion editor for GQ decided that he wanted a hip look for me, so he opened my tie and shirt button, got rid of my jacket, and replaced my dress shoes with sneakers. It was very cool.
I'm going to do this before we get into the live portion of this trial, because I know the trial. I keep saying trial, and I apologize for saying trial. Testimony. I want to get some calls in here real quick from some of you all. Let me know what you think, what you're going to see this morning. This is about Paula White. I don't know who that is. Name sounds familiar. It just doesn't. I don't know. Let's see here. Let me know. You're welcome to call in. I would love to talk to you, get your opinion on some of this before the testimony starts. Let's call it that. We'll call it testimony. But I think this guy should be held accountable. I don't know if he will. I'm losing faith, just like most of you all in the Republicans that we put in Congress. Let's kick it off right here. Where are you calling from? Line 1. Line 1, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Tom from Michigan.
Tom in Michigan. What do you think, Tom? Is Anthony Fauci going to be held accountable, or is this just going to be a big nothing burger dog and pony show?
I believe it's going to be a nothing burger, and I believe also that just like how presidents have their immunity, if he pleads the fifth, he should be able to lose his um, um, pardon that he received.
Okay. Thank you for calling. God bless you. There we go. There's one. He says nothing burger. Do you think it's going to be a nothing burger? 1 for yes, 2 for no. I don't know. Line 2, go right ahead. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Ben. This is Clark from Missouri. Remember, Fauci was also over the AIDS debacle, and we know how that's turned out. People are dying every day from that. And
My
he's a
question
criminal.
is, will he be held accountable?
No.
Okay. All right. Thank you for calling. Lines are open. I really want to get some understanding of if you think he will be held accountable. 1 for yes, 2 for no in the chat. Or is Rand Paul just trying to save his Senate seat by what I would call the second greatest dog show in the world? And we know what Fauci did to dogs, which is also disgusting. This thing's going to kick off in about 10 minutes is what it looks like. I'm going to try to grab some calls from some people before then as to what's happening. Last night, the FAA issued a nationwide ground stop for all American airlines. They said it was an IT issue. Nobody's saying anything about a cyber attack, which is possible. Line 3, where are you calling from and what is your name?
John in Pride, Louisiana. How are you this morning, Mr. Dykes?
John, do you think they're going to do anything, or is this a big nothing burger?
Got in a little late. It's Fauci you're talking about, right?
Yeah, he's going to testify before Congress today. It's not a trial,
Yeah,
but it's testimony.
It's going to be a dog and pony show. It ain't going to be nothing real. And then if they put anything on him, they're not going to put the sucker in jail. But, that's the way it goes. Double standard law.
John, thank you for calling, brother. God bless you. Appreciate your time. Let's go here. Mark, Pittsburgh. What do you got?
Hey Ben, isn't he if you got the pardon says that you're already guilty of something. That's why Comey didn't take it.
That's wrong.
That's wrong?
Yeah, he was given a blanket pardon to cover 2014 to 2025. There were no charges related to the pardon. It was just a blanket pardon. But my question isn't about the pardon. My question is this a big dog and pony show, or will Anthony Fauci be held accountable for anything for the American people?
It's a dog and pony show. That's all it is. It's something to take your mind off of whatever's going on in Iran or something else. That's all it is. It's all bullshit.
Okay, thanks for calling. There you go. RFK Jr. dropped some major revelation. I want to see what this is.
RFK Jr. drops major.
I don't know about that. I don't know I think that might be a little bit of clickbait. I haven't seen a major revelation. I do want to make sure that we stay here because this is where all of this is going to come to fruition, where we're going to get some of this coverage. Lines are open, 615-475-7864. Feel free to give me a call. Let me know, is this going to be real or are we going to be underwhelmed? What do you think? Where are you calling from? What is your name?
Calling from Manila. I don't think.
Manila, the Philippines? You in the Philippines?
No, Arkansas.
Manila, Arkansas. Okay. Do you think this is a big dog and pony show? Will Anthony Fauci be held accountable? Or is that just going to happen whenever he meets his maker? Okay.
I think when he meets his maker is when he'll pay his due. But I think that the Republicans will hammer his ass, and I think the Democrats will take up for him just like they do every other time.
Let me ask you this. When you say they're going to hammer him, is that, or is what we're seeing today, or what we could see today, just a big way of Republicans to appear to the American people like they care? Is this going to be campaign commercials? Is this going to be clips for their campaigns so that they can come back to Arkansas or wherever? That's what I think as well. I really kind of believe that because we haven't seen anything. Thank you for calling. Manila, Arkansas. I thought it was the Philippines. Line 3, where are you calling from? What's your name?
Greg from Ohio, Ben.
Greg, make it quick. What do you
I
got?
think what's going to happen is they'll probably run Fauci for president in 2028.
All right. Thank you for calling. Let's go here. Line 4. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Frank. I'm calling from Michigan. Good morning, Ben.
Frank, Michigan. Is Anthony Fauci going to be held accountable, or is this just another dog and pony show for Republicans to fundraise off of and say that they care? We care about you. What do you think?
It's another dog and pony show. I called in, though. What do you think about other countries kind of grabbing him? Because what he did throughout the whole world. Would another country step up and grab him?
Why? Why would they?
For what he's done for the COVID, for the vaccine.
You think they literally would? I doubt it. God bless you. Thank you for calling. Let's go. I doubt it. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is David out in Kansas, my friend. How you doing?
David, Kansas. What do you think? Is Fauci going to be held accountable, or is this just a dog and pony show?
I think this is a perjury trap. They just have the new evidence from his diary, and if they can get him to lie, maybe it bypasses the pardon that Biden put on him, and the DOJ can go after him fresh.
Let me ask you this then, David. If you were on this committee and you could ask him one question, what question would you ask him?
Why'd you lie? Yeah.
I don't think that's a question that would go anywhere. I think you got to get more into the weeds. Why did you lie is an easily responded question. I didn't lie. I think you've got to have the goods on like the money going to Wuhan or gain of function, something like that. But David, you might be onto something. This could be a perjury trap. You're 1,000% right. Thank you for calling, brother.
Yeah,
God bless you. Lines are open. If you had one question, what do you ask him? Airborne, what do you ask Anthony Fauci if you're on the committee?
Hey, brother. I don't know if his ego is going to take over or if he's actually going to listen to his lawyer and keep his mouth shut.
You didn't answer my question. What
What's
would you ask Anthony Fauci if you were there and you could ask him a question? What would you ask?
What led him to provide false information? Was it, the notoriety of all of a sudden being publicly famous?
Okay.
Or was he pushed that way by some politician, or was somebody financially saying they're going to pull his funds for his research?
I don't think he would ever answer that question. I think that would be a sound bite for a Republican to ask that. I don't think you'd ever get an answer. Thank you for calling, brother. Let's go, Bobby, Tennessee. What do you got, Bobby?
Hey, he won't plead the fifth. He's a narcissist. They love hearing themselves talk. And
You
he'll be
think he'll
waiting
talk?
tonight on mainstream media how he fought against the Republicans and bombshells. There's going to be bombshells all over the news stations.
You think he'll talk? Okay.
I do. Look at his personality.
All right,
Him and
buddy.
Rand Paul go way back on that.
I'm going to grab a couple more for this starts. Let's go here. MWP, do you think he's going to say anything, or is this just going to keep his mouth shut? What do you think?
I think it's just a dog and pony show, like you said, brother. I think he's going to plead the fifth. I think it's, like I said the other day when I called in, it's all talk, no action. That's all they ever do is have hearings and trials. And at the end, there's so many people responsible, so nobody's at fault. That's my 2 cents.
You have a perfect example. James Comer has done nothing. Let's go here. Line 4. What do you got?
Hey, Ben, I would ask him, was it worth it? Was it worth piping up the COVID-19 virus to change the way America's elections are held with all the mail-in ballots? Was it worth it?
My question would be, when you close your eyes at night, do you see the millions of dead Americans' faces before you go to sleep? That would be my question.
That's a great question.
That would be my question. Thank you for
That's
calling,
a great
brother.
question.
What
Hey, thanks,
was your
Ben. Have a
name?
good
I
one,
didn't
buddy.
catch it. What was your name?
Jason from Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Jason in Scranton. Oh, you're up there with Joe. Joe's a Scranton, Pennsylvania guy, right?
Yeah, he's not from here. He might have did a pit stop for 6 months when he was a kid.
Have you got hairy legs like Joe did whenever he was in Scranton?
Oh, I'm German and Polish, so I have very hairy legs.
God bless you. Thank you for calling, brother. God bless you.
All right.
Tommy, what question would you ask Anthony Fauci?
Hey, you have the best question. That was my question, Benjamin. Let me say something real quick. How you doing this morning first?
Number one, you're allowed to say whatever you want. Don't talk about anything
Right.
but what we're talking
I got
about.
you. I think he's going to talk because if we as MAGA have evaluated this monster all correctly, the arrogance and the way he has always been in Congress, smart enough that saying he's the shit and I'm right about all of it, lying about it. There's no way he can stay silent unless he's absolutely held back by an attorney, which will even reach over and hold his arm a couple times, I bet.
Is he that
It's gonna be a
arrogant?
show.
You think
It's
he's
gonna be
that
a show.
arrogant?
I do. I think he is. I think he can't help it. So he's going to want to, for sure. But,
Somebody said the word narcissist. How
oh, good job, man.
it's like
Good
a
job.
criminal. It's like a psychopath criminal. They always go back to the scene of the
Yeah.
crime, and I think
It's
what we're
true.
seeing is he very well could be going back to the scene of the crime. You know,
Right. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, man.
like an
Hey, guys,
arson.
have
They
a
go
great
back
day.
to watch the house burn. You know.
Yeah, and I truly believe the guy truly was getting off on it.
Okay. I appreciate you calling, Tommy. God bless you.
Yeah.
Looks like they're getting the cameras ready to start rolling here. I'm going to bounce back and forth a couple of these different outlets that might provide this. But the lines are open. He seems like a narcissist, a teenage narcissist. Let's see here. Somebody just sent me some text. Fauci might stupidly answer. Do you think they'll trip him up? Line 3, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Ben, Arizona here. I agree with your comment and Tommy, who we just spoke right now about he is so narcissistic. Ben, look at his diary. That shows everything, and we have seen everything. He loves to be on the news. He's all infatuated with himself. Yes, I believe he will
Let me
speak.
ask you this. A lot of
sir.
these members of Congress are also narcissists. And I've said for years, and I used to work in D.C., politics is Hollywood for ugly people. Line 1, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Ben. My name is Phyllis, and I'm from New Hampshire. My question for Fauci would be, how easy was it to convince the American people and people of the world that they could do as they're told by the government? How easy was that? Shutting down churches, shutting down stores. How easy was the compliance with your topic?
All right, we're about to
you're
stop
gonna
here. I'm going to
die?
hang up on you. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Okay, it looks like we've got Fauci sitting down. This is a small room. Very small room.
1 million Americans died from COVID-19. Some estimate as many as 15 million people died worldwide from COVID-19. Publicly, Anthony Fauci promoted the theory that the virus arose naturally, while privately, he was well aware of a mountain of evidence suggesting the virus originated in the lab. The American people deserve answers. The American people deserve to know why dangerous research was funded by NIAID in a totalitarian country, in a lab that lacked acceptable safety standards. The decision to fund dangerous gain-of-function research in Wuhan, China, will likely go down in history as perhaps one of the worst public health decisions. Frankly, the American people deserve an apology. I hope today Dr. Fauci will come clean, admit it was a mistake to fund dangerous research in China, admit that the risk of this dangerous research exceeded any possible benefits, ask forgiveness, and pledge to help our government devise safeguards so a man-made epidemic never happens again. Instead of an apology, you have for years avoided responsibility. Regarding the lockdowns, you argue that you did not personally issue every lockdown order, close every school, or impose every mandate. But officials across the country invoked your authority to justify these decisions. And you presented your recommendations not as judgments open to debate, but as dictates of science itself. Your own words demonstrate that you understood the influence you exercised. On March 14th, 2020, you wrote that the task force recommendations were driven by me yourself, Deb, and CDC. The next day you wrote that you had convinced Mayor Bill de Blasio to close the New York City schools, so you were involved. That same night, Governor Gavin Newsom's chief of staff told you that the governor had decided to close California schools, bars, and restaurants after watching you on television. Presidents, governors, mayors, school boards, corporations, and Congress all bear responsibility for the decisions they made. The COVID lockdown, however, could never have been inflicted without you aiding and abetting the crime. Children lost years of education. Small businesses built over a lifetime disappeared. Patients delayed cancer screenings and other medical care. Families were separated from dying relatives. Workers were ordered to accept a medical procedure or lose their jobs. Worship assembly, employment, education, and travel were restricted in the name of science. While you did not impose every restriction, you used your public authority to justify them. While you concluded publicly that COVID occurred naturally, your private record tells a different story. In early 2020, your hand-picked virologist warned that the virus appeared to have been manipulated in the lab. In a conference call concerning the origin of the virus, all but 2 of the participants believed deliberate insertion was possible. Your concern was not merely theoretical. That same week, you led an urgent effort to determine whether your own agency had funded the research related to these experiments that were now under suspicion. Hours later, your assistant reported that the Wuhan experiments had indeed been reviewed and approved by the NIH. Those were not the actions of officials who believed that a research-related origin was an absurd conspiracy theory. They were the actions of officials urgently trying to determine whether their agency funding was connected to the research under discussion, connected to the pandemic. You could not hide that your agency had funded the Wuhan research or your long history of defending gain-of-function research. The only alternative left was to argue that COVID-19 did not originate in the Wuhan lab. You were not a detached observer. You had an institutional interest in the public believing that federally funded research had nothing to do with the pandemic. It was a conflict of interest from the very beginning. The authors of the proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 privately had serious doubts about a natural origin. Within days, though, they flipped, and they all wrote in proximal origin that the virus was almost certainly not a laboratory construct. That paper was then used by the government and the media and you to discredit Americans who were asking the same questions that you and the authors were asking yourselves privately. You even cited proximal origin from the White House podium. You held it out as evidence that the virus could not have been engineered, but you didn't disclose your role in the discussions that preceded the writing of the paper. You did not disclose the author's original concerns. You did not reveal that you had been part of the paper, that you had read and offered editorial comments on the paper before it was published, before you began using it as evidence that it couldn't have originated in the lab. You did not disclose that you had immediately investigated yourself whether NIAID funding might be connected to the research. You did not tell the American people the full story. Duly released private messages indicate that the doubts with the authors and others didn't disappear after the publication. So while this was being waved at the White House to show that it couldn't come from the lab, the authors were still privately continuing to assign a meaningful probability to a laboratory origin, one thing in public and another in private. Some of the same scientists discussed avoiding email and carefully managing communications that might eventually be obtained under the Freedom of Information Act. The pattern is straightforward. Privately, there was alarm, then an immediate inquiry to see if NIAID's possible exposure to funding, then a rapid public declaration of certainty, continued private doubt, and then years of resistance to disclosure. The question is why? The only logical answer is that your primary concern was avoiding culpability. Your primary concern was hiding the fact that you had approved the funding for this dangerous research. Your support of gain-of-function research is extensive and long-standing. In 2011, your agency funded Ron Fauci's laboratory when it mutated the avian flu until it could spread through the air between mammals. This was the tipping point. This is when others became worried. You funded this. You advocated for this. The federal government's own biosecurity board, though, recommended withholding the details of these experiments because of the danger the research posed. People were concerned that publishing it was publishing a roadmap to creating bioweapons around the world. But you sided with the gain-of-function scientist Fauci and argued that the benefits of publishing the research far outweighed the risks. You defended this avian flu transmissibility experiments as critical research. You wrote that even if a scientist became infected and triggered a pandemic, the benefits of the gain-of-function experiments outweighed the risk. In 2014, your agency, NIAID, began funding the Wuhan bat coronavirus work. In 2015, Ralph Barrick and the Chinese scientist Shi Zhengli published NIAID-supported research combining a bat coronavirus spike protein with a SARS backbone. The resulting virus could infect human airway cells. It's a novel virus that now can infect human cells. It gained transmissibility, it gained function. In 2018, the same group of scientists, EcoHealth, Barrick, Shi, and their collaborators submitted the diffuse proposal, which involved the insertion of a furin cleavage site into the coronavirus. DARPA rejected it as too dangerous. When COVID was sequenced, though, early on in January of 2020, within days, scientists discovered that, lo and behold, it had a novel furin cleavage site, just as had been proposed in the diffuse product. This was either an extraordinary coincidence or a smoking gun, evidence that the Chinese had created COVID-19. It made the laboratory origin question more legitimate, and it made your categorical public denials indefensible. On May 11th, 2021, you told the Senate, the NIH has never, ever, and does not now fund gain-of-function research in Wuhan, in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. When I gave you the opportunity to correct the record, to reconsider the statement, you responded that you had never before lied to Congress. We were then told that only the government's narrowest regulation of definition counted here, that you could define gain of function in one way in which this wasn't gain of function, in which all of the common sense of the world would be thrown out, all of the idea that the mice were dying and the virus was more transmissible didn't matter because you had a technical definition that allowed you to fund it. But the real question is, was it dangerous? Was it a wise decision to fund this? And you haven't deviated from that. You've never admitted that it could have been a mistake funding this research in China. The American people weren't asking for a semantics debate over what is gain of function. They were asking, does common sense say this research was dangerous in Wuhan? They wanted to know whether their money-funded experiments in Wuhan that made bat coronaviruses better able to infect humans. The answer is yes. They wanted to know whether NIAID adequately supervised their work. The answer is no. When you defended this research, you described its benefits in the broadest terms. But when Congress demanded accountability, you hid behind the narrowest possible definition. You can't have it both ways. Your conduct concerning federal records raises further questions. It is a crime to destroy federal records. Yet our investigation reveals your assistant diligently reported that she deleted tons of emails. In 2024, you testified that you did not delete federal records. Who's telling the truth, you or your assistant? The committee has obtained repeated instructions from you telling federal officials to delete communications. On February 2nd, 2020, one day after Origin's call, you told Francis Collins, please delete this email after you read it. The committee asked for your voluntary cooperation to come today. Your appearance had to be compelled by subpoena. You're here today under duress. You're here today because of the court ordering it. President Biden issued you a sweeping pardon extending back to 2014, the same pardon he gave to his son Hunter. A pardon may protect a person from criminal prosecution, doesn't rewrite history. It does not erase documents. It does not convert a misleading statement into a truthful one. And it does not prevent Congress from establishing what happened. There will be another pandemic. There will be another crisis. And there will again be officials who insist that uncertainty must be hidden for the public's own good. They will demand obedience. They will invoke science. I am the science, as though it were a commandment. They will argue that government officials cannot be questioned because questioning them would undermine public trust. They have it backwards. It is secrecy that destroys trust. It is arrogance that destroys trust. It is censorship that destroys trust. And it is the refusal to admit error that destroys trust. That loss of trust may be your most damaging legacy. Trust can't be ordered. It has to be earned. No scientist is above scrutiny. No government official is beyond accountability. And no public servant has the right to treat the suffering of millions of Americans as a footnote to his preferred version of history. I now recognize Senator Peters for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee has a long and a very proud history of conducting serious oversight on behalf of the American people. When this committee has been at its best, Democrats and Republicans have worked together to investigate complicated issues, to follow the facts wherever they may lead, and produce recommendations that actually strengthen our nation's security and improve government functions. That bipartisan tradition has produced meaningful work following Hurricane Katrina, the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, failures at the Secret Service, and countless other matters. Unfortunately, today's hearing is the latest step in the chairman's sharp departure from that long tradition. This hearing appears to be a culmination of months of biased and selected efforts by the majority under the guise of a committee investigation to basically legitimize a predetermined conclusion that was reached years ago. In 2021, the chairman has called for today's witness to be fired, to be arrested, accused him of leading cover-ups and conspiracies. He has even featured the witness prominently in fundraising emails and on the cover of his book. He has also called for the cancellation of the witness's security detail, despite the fact the witness and his family have received numerous credible death threats. When I served as chairman, Senator Paul and I launched a bipartisan biosecurity investigation that included oversight of risky research and the origins of COVID-19, because we agreed that the committee's work would be stronger if we did it in a bipartisan manner and just followed the facts. That was and continues to be an area of legitimate and certainly needed oversight. As chairman, Senator Paul has taken the opposite approach. He has abandoned longstanding practice by blocking minority participation in committee oversight actions and has chosen to selectively release committee records that the minority has never had any access to in order to support his pre-drawn conclusions. The chairman has repeatedly excluded committee's minority and withheld documents and evidence from members that are entitled to receive them, disregarding longstanding Senate rules and committee precedent that have preserved the credibility of our oversight in this committee for decades. I have raised these concerns directly with the chairman because it's not just what we investigate that matters, but how we conduct that investigation. That also matters. One-sided investigations designed to validate predetermined conclusions do not serve the American people who sent us to actually uncover the truth and to solve problems. I wrote to the chairman requesting that he adhere to committee rules. But instead of addressing concerns that I raised, he removed part of the committee's website from the public view. This move not only prevented the public from being able to view those lists of concerns, it adds serious questions about the desire for transparency and legitimate oversight of this matter. But what makes today's hearing particularly disappointing is not simply the chairman's actions, but what we could be using this committee's true and time oversight responsibilities to accomplish. This committee has not held its annual threats hearing at all of this Congress. We have not held a budget hearing for the Department of Homeland Security. There are important hearings that we would have the opportunity to discuss as to how to strengthen our Homeland Security across the board. No hearings on those topics. Instead of focusing on the national security challenges that we are facing in our country right now, today's hearing looks backwards, revisiting questions this committee has already examined, including through bipartisan work that Senator Paul and I conducted together when I served as chairman of this committee. But rather than building on that work to strengthen our preparedness against future disasters, we are instead relitigating the past. COVID-19 exposed serious deficiencies in our nation's public health infrastructure. We know that. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives, and this committee should absolutely continue to examine how we can better prepare our nation against future biological threats. Those are the kinds of forward-looking, life-saving questions that will help our nation be better prepared to protect the health and the safety of Americans when the next emergency occurs. Unfortunately, at this precise moment, we should be strengthening our capabilities. The Trump administration seems to be doing everything in their power to actually weaken our capabilities. The administration has hollowed out the public health workforce. They have fired, pushed out, and cut funding for public health personnel, shrinking the CDC workforce by a quarter. Thousands of experienced scientists have left government service, and with them has gone critical institutional knowledge that cannot be easily replaced, certainly not quickly replaced. The administration, thanks to political operatives like Russell Vought, has slashed or illegally withheld funding for life-saving medicines and cutting-edge technologies that let us rapidly develop them during an emergency. Mr. Vought is now further politicizing the federal grant-making process, proposing to subject all federal grants, including those for disaster relief, housing development, and cancer research, to the whims of political appointees, not nonpartisan experts. All of this has left the American people more vulnerable to infectious disease threats, and we are already tragically seeing the consequences. Staffing and funding cuts have slowed the federal, state, and local response to ongoing outbreak of a foodborne parasite, which has sickened thousands in my home state of Michigan, as well as across the country. At the same time, the administration cuts to global health programs and international partnerships have greatly reduced our ability to contain dangerous diseases like Ebola before they spread to our shores. We should be examining whether our federal health agencies have the personnel and the resources they need to effectively prevent, detect, and respond to these threats. We should be asking how to strengthen our biodefense efforts to deter our adversaries and prevent biological attacks against our country, and how our government can better coordinate and communicate during public health emergencies. These are the kinds of forward-looking matters that are worthy of this committee's time. Instead, we are here continuing the chairman's year-long focus on one individual. History tells us, unfortunately, another pandemic is all but inevitable. The question is whether Congress and this committee will work to better prepare our country for it, or continue looking backward while our public health infrastructure crumbles around us. That is the hearing that we should be having today. Unfortunately, I fear the intent of this hearing is only meant to further a purely partisan agenda and it will not make Americans safer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The accusation that the committee has denied access to the minority to records is categorically false. This is the most transparent investigation in the history of Congress. We actually created a website and we put all of the information on the website. It continues to operate. The reason it hasn't been accessed is no Democrat ever signed up for it. Not one Democrat. We told them the access. They never asked for the access code. They haven't been on the website because they have not cared about the investigation. It's a practice of this committee to swear in the witness. Dr. Fauci, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you will give before this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. Dr. Anthony Fauci, you are recognized for 5 minutes for your opening statement.
Member Peters, members of the committee, I served at the NIH for over 54 years, 38 of those as director of the National Institute of Virology and Infectious Diseases. Over that period, I proved that I believe in and respect the value of legitimate congressional oversight. In fact, I testified before and/or briefed Senate and House Senate and House committees well over 200 times over those 38 years. During and after the COVID pandemic, I have appeared multiple times for hearings in the Senate and the House, usually under oath, and sat for several days-long transcribed sworn interviews answering questions about the very issues that are now the subject of this hearing. However, given Senator Paul's obvious obsession with calling for my prosecution, his repeated slanderous comments about me, and recently his publicly releasing my unredacted personal diary aimed at embarrassing and intimidating me, the only conclusion I can reach is that the sole reason he is calling me before this committee is to get me to say something, anything, that could vindicate his repeated public pledges that I end up, in his words, quote, behind bars, unquote. Any reasonable person who has followed his unhinged obsession with me would readily come to the same conclusion. Therefore, although it pains me to do so, because of the respect I have for the legislative branch of government and my decades-long record of cooperating with Congress, under the advice of my attorneys, I will invoke my right under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution to refrain from answering your questions. Thank you.
We will now begin a round of questioning. Dr. Fauci, your testimony today is compelled by a lawful subpoena. As you know, it's a crime under 18 U.S.C. Section 1001 to knowingly make a material false statement to Congress, with a penalty up to 5 years of imprisonment. Understanding that you are under oath, the American people would like to understand your reasoning, your rationale for why you chose to fund the research in Wuhan. There have been, intelligence agencies, the CIA, the FBI, the DOE, have all come to the conclusion that more likely than not, the virus came from the lab in Wuhan. And so we'd like to know, what was the rationale? What was the discussion? How, what went behind the decision to fund the research in Wuhan? How did you come to the conclusion that a totalitarian country would be capable of doing this in a BSL-2 lab, a lab that lacked the security? What was the reasoning? And are you sorry, basically, for making the decision? Would you, given another chance, say, well, gosh, circumstances now, as I know it, maybe it wasn't a wise thing. Can you explain to the committee why you chose to fund this dangerous research in China?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
In the red folder on your table is a copy of Section 192 of Title II of the U.S. Code. Your counsel has been provided a copy as well. That section makes it a crime for a witness appearing under subpoena to refuse to answer any questions pertinent to the question under inquiry. Do you have that in front of you?
On the advice of counsel.
He's not going to say a damn thing. He's not going to say shit all day. This is garbage.
Let the record record that the witness has refused to answer whether there's a folder in front of him based on his Fifth Amendment right. It is true that you're appearing under direction of our subpoena to provide testimony on matters under consideration by the committee, including the origins of COVID-19, risky life sciences research, and your tenure as a federal government employee. Additionally, you've been provided a full and unconditional pardon dated January 19th, 2025, for any offenses against the United States which may have been committed or taken part from January 1st, 2014 through the date of the pardon for a 10-year period, arising from or in any manner related to your service as Director of the National Institute for Allergy and Infectious Diseases, as a member of the White House Coronavirus Task Force or the White House COVID-19 Response Team, or as Chief Medical Advisor to the President. Have you refused this pardon, or do you have any reason to believe this full and unconditional pardon, this grant of immunity, would somehow require you to plead the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Based on the facts presented, I'm going to direct you to answer the questions. The committee has issued a valid subpoena. They have requested your presence here. The questions are very pertinent to your decision-making as head of NIAID, as well as a chief advisor to the president. Do you still refuse to answer the questions?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Let's do the. Dr. Fauci, were you ever made aware of gain-of-function research on monkeypox being conducted at the National Biodefense Analysis and Countermeasure Center, NBAC, at Fort Detrick?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Dr. Fauci, did the CIA ever transfer funds to NIH under an interagency agreement?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
I'm going to, but I need the long list of the gain-of-function questions. Dr. Fauci, did the NIH ever conduct research for or in coordination with any element of the intelligence community, CIA, ODNI?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
The reason why these questions are important is, President Trump has done a ban, and we're glad that he did a ban on gain-of-function research. So we're better off than we were when we had an advocate serving as head of NIAID, an advocate for gain-of-function research. There is still, though, a question, though, whether or not the intelligence community is adhering to that order. There's a question of whether or not gain-of-function research is still ongoing. And these are important questions the American people deserve to know. Dr. Fauci, have you been read into any classified Department of Homeland Security program, any prospective special access program concerning gain-of-function research?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
When we look at the research in China, the gain-of-function research that you've denied was gain-of-function, one of the things that startled the scientists when they saw COVID in the first couple of weeks was when they looked at the sequence of it, they said, oh my God, there's a furin cleavage site in it. And in this particular family of coronaviruses, the sarbecoviruses, they'd never seen this before. They were also startled to look at it and see how it was coded for, what the codons were, and to discover that the codons used out of 36 different possibilities turned out to be the one that was commonly used in gene manipulation by scientists. Dr. Fauci, were the scientists at the Wuhan Institute of Virology capable of inserting a furin cleavage site into a coronavirus?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So one of the experiments that was pretty common was they would take the backbone of a SARS virus. And this would be a SARS virus that the backbone itself wasn't that dangerous, but then they would dig through guano, 300 feet underground, bat guano. They'd find other viruses, unknown viruses. They'd take the S protein off of an unknown virus and stick it on a backbone. And then they would infect mice that have humanized cells. And they were trying to discover if they could create a virus that infects humans. Now, many people would say, well, gosh, that doesn't sound like a really good idea to create viruses that don't exist in nature to see if they'll infect human cells. What if one escaped? What if you keep infecting this and do serial passage, you actually adapt the virus to be infectious to humans? So the question is whether or not Dr. Fauci, the Wuhan Institute of Virology, was combining an S protein with one virus with the backbone of others, and could this lead to a virus, maybe it wasn't even predicted, but could it lead to viruses that gained in function and then could lead to a pandemic?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
One of the arguments that you and others have made against this virus coming from the lab is it couldn't have come from the viruses that have been published. And nobody's really arguing that. I think from the very beginning, people acknowledged that the viruses that have been published are too far evolutionarily distant from a virus that could have become COVID-19. But what has never been acknowledged by the side who tries to call the other side of conspiracy theory, which is really something you don't usually see in a scientific debate. This is the first time I've ever seen an article printed in Lancet by your friends who called this a conspiracy theory. You know, these are the kind of things you see as a screed on a political, website. You don't really see this in science. But when they release this as being a conspiracy theory, we're wondering that when you do this, when you combine these viruses and are able to grow them in humanized cells, whether or not this kind of risky research, whether you call it gain of function or not, whether you use the definition of gain of function, whether this kind of research should have had more scrutiny. I think in your House testimony, you testified that you never traveled to China and that you were unaware that anybody at NIH ever examined the labs, that you trusted the Chinese scientists. I think you said that even recently, that with your discretion, you trusted the Chinese scientists. The problem is that even in our country, we trust our scientists. They're good American scientists, probably doing the right thing for America. But at the same time, we oversight to make sure it's not dangerous research, but we also investigate the lab. I believe Fort Detrick was one of our main labs, was closed down in the last year or two because of research institute, a research incident that was dangerous with dangerous pathogens. And so the American people would want to know, how could you approve this dangerous research in China, say that you trusted the Chinese scientists, and then in the end, you had to admit that you'd never been there, and none of your inspectors had ever been there. Dr. Fauci, had any of the labs where this dangerous research was occurring, were any American lab oversight or lab investigators, did they ever appear in these labs to make sure that they were safe labs?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So one of the main theories for those who have looked at this being created in the lab was the idea that could have come from a virus not previously published. Dr. Fauci, are you aware that Dr. Shi, who worked for the Wuhan Institute of Virology—
Guys, this is an absolute farce. This is a clown show. This is a disgrace to the American people. This is absolutely disgusting what's going on. I believe we knew that this was going to happen. All of us really knew this was going to happen. You know what? I'm going to put this on pause here. I'm going to put this on pause. And I want to hear from some of you, because I find you all a lot more interesting than Rand Paul laying out the facts that we've kind of known, and Anthony Fauci sidestepping those facts. We'll get back to the testimony. I'm okay with that. But I really want to get to the point of how frustrated you all are right now, because I believe a lot of you are frustrated. I'm frustrated. I really wanted some karma, maybe some vengeance, some justice. And I don't know if we're going to get that. Lines are open, 615-475-7864. Yeah, I had to flush them. Now we got even the pretty girl's gone, right? Lines are open, 615-475-7864. I want to hear your opinion. If you want to hear this, I'm happy to play it. Let's go Brian, Lime, Ohio. Brian, what are your thoughts about what we're seeing?
You pretty much basically summed it up. It's an absolute clown show, shit show, and the only thing that I'm gonna say is the American people need to be refunded for this clown show, for the taxpayer money they're spending on this.
That's
all
Brian.
I gotta. Yep.
God bless you. Let's go here. Line 2. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, good morning, Ben. It's Grumpy.
Grumpy, what are your thoughts?
I think you just might as well just cut that off, because Fauci's going to sound like a broken Tickle Me Elmo for the rest of the day. He knows he's cooked. He knows we all know the truth.
We knew he wouldn't say anything, because if he said something, he would basically trap himself into a perjury trap. Thank you for calling, Grumpy. God bless you.
Have a great one.
We'll go in and out of some audio here.
Amendment to the Constitution.
Lines are open. I'll mute it when a phone call
We're
comes
going
in.
to finish with this question, and it's based really on that statement, that general statement in your.
Let's go here. Line 3. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Carla from
Carla,
North
you got to
Carolina.
turn the audio down in the background.
I am doing
I
that
wear hearing
right
aids.
now.
You got to do that before you
There you
call
go.
in. Okay, what would you like to
Okay.
say?
Okay. Y'all know how Joe Biden supposedly got the jab, right?
Sure.
Wrong. Because you cannot use an experimental drug on a sitting president.
Is that written somewhere? Is that a law?
Yes, it is.
That's a law.
That is a law.
Text message me where that's a law. Thank you for calling. Line 3. Go ahead, troll.
I want that piece of shit basically strung up by a short rope from a tall tree. More people died from his vaccine that he profited off from pushing it for the stupid disease. Don't get me wrong, the disease killed millions, but my mom has heart problems now because of that piece of shit. She
God
had
bless
to
you,
have
troll. Post her name in the chat. We'll pray for her. Let's go here. Line 4. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
This is Mike from Fremont, Virginia, Ben. How you doing
Virginia?
this morning?
Mike, what would you like to say?
On the advice of counsel, I refuse.
I'm hanging up on
plead
you,
the
Mike, just for you facetious, sarcastic son of a bitch.
I'm sorry.
You got me, Mike. That's funny. Mike, God bless you. And I think that's maybe comment of the day so far. God bless you. Let's go here. Line 3. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
This is Gene from Grand Island, Nebraska. How you doing?
Nebraska. What do you want to say this morning?
That's going to be a clown show today, so I'm glad to shut it off.
You know, the American people are paying for this. This is a bazillion-dollar trial testimony that the American taxpayers are doing. And these senators sitting here should be in there voting to pass the SAVE Act rather than this clown show. This is a magic trick. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Line 4. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Dante, California.
Dante, California. What do you got to say?
Man, nothing's going to really change, Ben, until we get all of these judges out of here and we eradicate all of these lawyers out of here from our judicial system.
The
That's
judges
only way we're gonna
protect
get
everyone.
accountability.
The judges are protecting everyone. Schumer and the Democrats did a really good job of putting them in place. I agree with you. God bless you, brother. Call back anytime. It's nice talking with you. Stay safe. James, Virginia, are you pleading the 5th?
I think I'm going to plead the 5th. But Ben, my opinion is this. This is a good thing to have the hearing. just right here showing the fourth branch of government, we the people, the evil that these Democrats have put out there. This is not going to end well for them, because I'll tell you why. This is going to show in the midterms. I think it's going to be used how evil these Democrats are, and it's going to bring back memories of people that have died from what this evil man done. So
Should
anyway,
the senators involved in this right now be in the hall of the Senate passing the SAVE Act rather than this?
they should be out there. But the thing of it is, the SAVE Act, if they don't pass it, they got to realize the fourth branch of government, patience is running out. Eventually, they're going to have to worry about their own ass. They won't have to worry about no SAVE Act.
God bless you,
because
James.
this is not going to keep continuing.
God bless you. Take care. I believe these senators in this committee are wasting valuable time right now. They should be in there passing the SAVE Act rather than this dog and pony show getting on TV with their gotcha questions. Let's go here. Line 4. What do you got?
Yeah, this is Dale from Jersey. I'm now thinking more inclined to this is all a trap for him, because in 1986 Supreme Court decision, Brown versus Walker, it established that a witness who has received a pardon cannot use the Fifth Amendment privilege, because the pardon basically makes it as the offense was never committed. So I believe this is a trap for him. And as he pleads the Fifth, this is going to bite him, because he can't plead the Fifth. That's what the pardon does. It covers him and makes him immune.
Well, he is doing that. He's doing that.
Yeah.
You should tell him he shouldn't, but he is doing it. Okay?
No, I'm saying I believe this was a great trap setup for him. That's
We're gonna
eventually
see
bring
what
him
just
down.
happened here. I want to see what just happened. I think they just kicked out the lawyer, is what it looks like. Let's go here.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the
let's
attorney
go
was told, not testimony, sir. You are being disruptive, obstruct an investigation of Congress. There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. Senator Peters. You're not recognized. You're not recognized. If you are unruly, you will be removed from the proceeding. You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off. But you will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room. This testimony is from Anthony Fauci. This is not a game with his lawyers. He can advise, his lawyers can give him advice. He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? Yeah. But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation.
Okay.
Both incomprehensible and are also inexcusable. They include slashing funding for public health and infectious disease research, canceling contracts for cutting-edge vaccine technology, shutting agencies responsible for tackling infectious diseases around.
So they perp walked the lawyer out. This Democrats love this.
Around the world, firing thousands of federal employees.
Democrats absolutely love these theatrics. Lines are open, 615-475-7864. This is theatrics. This is just theatrics. Complete clown. I think Republicans look like a bunch of jokers. Line 3. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Good morning, Ben. This is Valen from West Virginia.
Okay.
Hey, I just called basically because I want to say that I agree that this is a great, big, huge waste of money. And if they're going to sit in there and not go do something about the Save America Act, why don't they just call this their so-called vacation, get that shit over with, and come back tomorrow and pass the Save America Act?
These senators make about $400 an hour to do this. God bless you. Appreciate you calling. They're making about $400 an hour to do this, is what's happening.
Minority out of participating equally in these efforts, withheld information, selectively released documents, actions that completely undermine the credibility of this investigation. I will enter a record without objection, Mr. Chairman, a letter that I sent to you that detailed all of those areas that we have concern with and where we were shut out.
Without objection.
We'll provide other details as well. I think today's hearing unfortunately does real damage. It's tempting to turn one person into the scapegoat.
Who does this make look worse? Republicans or Democrats? My theory is Republicans are wasting time. That's what I think. Line 1, go.
Yeah, Ben, this is Lisa from Greenwood. It just seems funny to me that the Democrats are broke because of USAID got closed down. But
How does that connect to what we're watching? How does that? I don't understand.
Because they funneled a lot of money through Fauci to support everything that they wanted.
Okay. All right. Thank you for calling.
USAID.
Okay. Freedom Angel, what do you got?
Oh man, the Republicans look like a 3-ring circus.
I think they look like clowns right now.
I just want to know, how come a psycho can get to a senator up here in Minnesota, but nobody can get to Fauci?
Okay, I'm going to cut over here to Ron Johnson. This guy's a fire breather. I want to hear Ron Johnson, okay? God bless you. I want to hear what Ron Johnson said. This guy is a dragon.
Listen very carefully to Chairman Paul's opening statement. I think it's a stunning indictment of the actions you've taken that have been so destructive to global health. I certainly understand why you needed a pardon. I certainly understand why, on the advice of counsel, you're not answering any questions, because I think it'd be almost impossible for you to answer the questions truthfully without really demonstrating what you did, your culpability, self-incriminating. We have, all of us has prepared a lot. I've been deluged with questions to ask Dr. Anthony Fauci. There are so many legitimate questions that deserve answers, and now you're not willing to provide those answers. So with my limited time, I'm going to talk about things that my investigation have revealed that have not been adequately answered and, quite honestly, haven't been adequately covered by the legacy media. I'll kind of combine the questions into kind of one, but I certainly, let's put up the last COVID chart. I was warned pretty early on about the dangers of the experimental gene therapy that you've called a vaccine, but it really falls under the definition of gene therapy. So I was going to ask you, were you carefully monitoring the safety surveillance systems like VAERS and vSafe that literally were deluged with complaints? Currently, worldwide, there have been almost 1.7 million adverse events reported to the VAERS system. Of those, over 39,000 were deaths. And of those deaths, 24% occur on the day of vaccination within 1 or 2 days. 24%, which, by the way, just happens to be the same percentage that a Rasmussen poll pointed out the American public believe 24% of the American public believe they know somebody who died of the experimental gene therapy. So again, I was certainly interested in asking you whether or not you were following this as carefully as I was. It was not my responsibility to follow safety surveillance systems, but I did. And by the way, when I published, this is actual government information. When I published it and people had me on their shows, they would be censored by Facebook. They would be deplatformed. I think largely at the behest of the actions you took to make sure that disinformation wasn't spread. This wasn't disinformation. This was the truth. So I was going to ask you whether you knew Dr. Marks. I think you do know him. He's the head of CBER. He's the man who is in charge of approving vaccines and surveilling for the safety. My investigation shows that on March 1st of 2021, less than 3 months after the emergency use authorizations, he was warned by Dr. Anna Scharsman, data mining expert, that the algorithm they were using to analyze VAERS data was going to hide in mass safety signals. 26 days later and 3 months consecutively after that, they did data runs with a new algorithm that unmasked those safety signals. They showed dozens of safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, cerebral artery occlusion, basal ganglia stroke, agonal rhythm, Bell's palsy, and pulmonary infarction. Your diaries now show that you actually suffered pulmonary infarction in, I think, probably June 2021. I was just wondering.
Okay, I just got a personal call when I stepped away. A friend of mine is in the room right now. Everyone in the room knew that Anthony Fauci was going to plead the fifth before this started. Everyone in there knew. I can't say who my friend is that's in the room, but he's in there right now.
And were you told that senior FDA officials were given shown dozens of safety signals associated with the COVID injection?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Next area I want to go through is in that same month of March 2021, an employee at NIH, Dr. Nath, led a team of researchers who were diagnosing and treating individuals who'd never had COVID but were severely injured by the genetic therapy injections. Dr. Nath told those individuals, stay quiet. We want to make sure that we gather all the information and then release it to doctors so they can treat people like yourself. There was a concerted effort, and I'll enter this into the record. It appears inside NIH to quash Dr. Nath's publishing of that study. It finally was put on a preprint server with telling no one, and I think about May of 2022. I think what's noteworthy about this is Dr. Nath told the injured participants that early treatment, early intervention was crucial for them to be treated. And yet within the NIH, they were questioning what was Dr. Nath doing. They didn't want to publish that because, and I want to take time searching for it, because publishing it would create vaccine hesitancy, which is what we continue to hear time and time again, is the reason they didn't promote they lied about the safety signals they were seeing. Throughout the pandemic, I always pushed early treatment. We've got things in here where you were really concerned about remdesivir because it was untested, but hydroxychloroquine, yeah, it was an approved drug. Maybe some safety issues, but we had a great deal of experience with it. All of a sudden, you had the Surgisphere study. It was retracted within 2 weeks because it was completely false. Totally blew up the use of hydroxychloroquine. And then when it comes to ivermectin, which, by the way, because I was contacted by so many people, I referred them to doctors who actually had the courage and compassion to treat vaccine-injured individuals. It works. But I was going to ask you whether you were involved in the FDA attack on ivermectin. You had a interview on CNN on August 29th of 2020.
I'm going to mute this. I want to take some calls. Who looks worse here? Who looks worse? Republicans or Democrats in this? This is all down to a binary choice right now. I'm very concerned about the midterms. Did Rand Paul do this as like a way to gain support for his reelection campaign? Is that what this is? Is this some kind of like paid advertisement? Let's go here, line 3. What do you got?
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead. Sounds like you got a lot of noise there.
Yeah,
You got to
man.
speak up.
Fauci looks worse. The Democrats look worse. We knew he was going to pull this Fifth Amendment bullcrap. You know, yeah, it's right, but he killed millions of people with remdesivir, knowing it was going to cause organ failure, including my mother-in-law.
Okay.
You know, I'm one of the few cases in the entire country probably that got a hospital to write a prescription for ivermectin during the middle of this. They removed the intubation. She was up and out of the bed the next day on ivermectin, and then
I can't talk a lot about the medicine. The YouTube health and safety people will kill me. God bless you. I understand though. Line 3, go right ahead.
Hey Ben, how you doing today?
Great. Who wins with this? I don't think the American people win. I don't think Democrats win. But I do think that Republicans look like they have egg on their face. Term whatever you're watching. I am just going to start hanging up on people if they got audio in the background. I can't take it.
Okay. I shouldn't have any audio going on, do I?
Go right ahead. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I just I'm really upset about how they withheld the ivermectin from people, Ben.
I
Because
can't.
I'll tell you what.
I can't get into the medicine shit. Okay, I can't get into that. They will shut me down. Keep your pharmacy stuff to yourself, please. Line 3, go right ahead. Who wins here? Republicans, Democrats, or the American people? More importantly, who loses?
I don't think we know yet. I don't think that the Republicans would have done this if they didn't have something up their sleeve.
Well, they have all the answers.
They knew this was going to happen.
They have all the answers.
Absolutely.
You never ask a question as a lawyer. You never ask a question as a lawyer unless you know the answer. Period. That's just the way it is. You don't ask a question as a lawyer unless you know the answer. However, a friend of mine is in the room. He said everyone in the room before this was started knew that Fauci was going to plead the fifth. Everyone in the building. Thank you for calling. He said everyone in the room knew. Eunice, go right ahead.
Hi, Ben. I'm sorry, people may not like to hear this, but to me, I have to fall back to the old standby. To me, it's just a big distraction to take away to what we're really interested in, which is the SAVE Act. This is to take away from the SAVE Act. Look over here instead of over here, what we really need done.
It's all a magic trick. I agree. These senators should be doing something else. God bless you, Eunice. Let's go here. Line 1. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, I just talked to you a second ago and you hung up.
I did hang up. You're not going to talk about medicine and all that stuff. That's exactly why I hung up. Yeah. You're welcome to call in, but we're not going to get into the medicinal part of this, okay? Okay? I can't do it. Line 3, go right ahead. Line 3, disconnected. I know you all are pharmacists and all this other stuff, and me as well. I'll give you one last chance. I'm not going to talk about the medicine, okay?
Me neither. You keep hanging up on me. All I was going to ask is, don't you think they had a plan? Like, don't you think they knew that Fauci would do this, and they are doing it for a reason? Maybe because they have to legally to enact something else they're going to do next.
And
I don't know why you kept hanging up on me like that.
What is that going to be?
I wasn't being rude or anything.
Okay, what's the next move then? You say they have a plan.
I don't
What's
know.
the plan?
Maybe legally they had to do this hearing to get him to come in and make these, plead the fifth. You don't think they knew he was going to do that? You just said your friends in the room knew he was going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they did this for a reason, not just to make themselves look like idiots.
Okay.
But they have to have a reason for doing what they're doing.
All right. Thank you for your call. I really
I'm
appreciate
just confused.
it. God bless you. Line 3, go right ahead.
Hey, Ben, Security All-Star. Hope you're doing well.
Amazing, sir. Thank you for calling.
I got a quick comment, and I'll let you respond to it. February 2020, when all this
February 2020. Okay. I'm going back in my mind in time. Okay.
Called a friend of mine, former NSA, when all this started hitting the news. And I said, hey, I know you know what's going on. She said, amazing. I picked up on the first ring. I just got off the airplane. I've been in D.C. I met with Bibi. I met with Trump. We had other world leaders there. This is planned economic espionage. She said, I don't have any more than that, but it does come out of China, and I will try to keep you in the loop. They all knew. Both sides knew. So I don't know what we do with that, but both sides knew back in February 2020. I'm hanging up.
You know, I don't believe in coincidences in politics. I believe in no coincidences in politics. And I think you're probably right. Let's go here. Line 4. What do you got?
Hey, how you doing? This is Dave from Pennsylvania.
Dave in Pennsylvania. What do you got, Dave?
Hey, you know something, nobody's addressed this, but don't you think this should have been a global collaborated effort to approach this? You know, Fauci was on this. I mean, he's killed people all over the world, and all these other countries should have been involved.
You
And
think
I'll tell you
more
what,
a higher level like Nuremberg trials rather than a testimony in Congress?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
Congress can't press charges. They can only make recommendations for a grand jury. And if he pleads the
this
fifth,
should have been set in place. And a lot of people forget stuff. Do you remember what the Chinese said about this? If we are put into a corner, there will be war. That's what the Chinese said. And a lot of people forget the fact when Trump said, I want to send a team over there and help the Wuhan lab. Well, who was flipping out? Pelosi? Schumer? Oh, no, no, no. Okay, why? Because they knew. And I'll tell you what, I know this stuff for a fact because I got directed to the Wuhan website long before COVID. And the stuff that they had put on their website of services that they offered people, what they were manufacturing over there would blow your mind.
Okay.
They had on there that they were manufacturing synthetic adrenochrome. Was it really synthetic?
Thank you very much for calling. I appreciate it. I really do.
All right, brother.
We're all disgusted. I think he brings up a great point that we wanted something more than this. Because the Democrats are getting talking points. The Republicans are getting talking points. Fauci's pleading the fifth. The caller from Security All-Star made the point that the other countries knew about this. I can't disagree with any of that. I can't disagree with any of this. I think these senators, we're at 97 days until the midterm elections. 97 days. I just don't know what's next. What do you got there, 4MC?
It's all theater. It's all show, brother. And I'm going to bring you some receipts. Are you ready for it?
Let's hear it.
All right. You remember that really contentious meeting between Fauci and Rand Paul where Fauci was like shaking? You know what I mean? Like he was really, really rattled.
Sure.
Well, it just so happens the date of that very contentious Senate testimony was July 20th of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So we just crossed the 5-year mark last week. It just so happens contempt of Congress statute of limitations is 5 years. So they bring in Fauci the week after the statute of limitations expires. It's all show. It's all BS. It's midterm fundraising, nothing more. We're all wasting our time right now, and I am pissed.
I believe I can't say what my buddy does, but he's in the room.
Mm-hmm,
He said before this started, they were all told when they went in that he was going to plead the fifth. The reporters knew it. The senators knew it. Rand Paul knew it. Everyone knew what he was going to do before he sat down. And it was basically, we're going to allow him to do this. And he told me when I stepped away that Republicans knew this and they were warned that this was going to happen. And they said, well, we'll be able to talk to the American people, meaning they could use their questions to, fundraise. Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth. Fundraise. You're absolutely right.
We're not a serious people. We're not a serious country. We're not.
No other country in the world. We need Bukele out of, is it El Salvador? We need them.
We have a man under oath right now who arguably could be considered the greatest mass murderer in the history of humankind.
And
we have him under oath, and he's hiding behind our beloved Constitution, and it makes me want to vomit. It makes me want to vomit.
Oh, man. There is not enough retribution for this. I'm talking Charles Bronson Death Wish type stuff is what I'm talking. You know?
Well, you better double his security after he played the fifth. And I wish him no harm. He deserves to die in a jail cell.
God bless you. Thank you, brother. God bless you. Lines are open. 615-475-7864. This is pomp and circumstance. Republicans are loving this. Line 2. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
That's Milo from Ohio. How's it going today?
Milo, what are your thoughts? You always have a different perspective, and I respect that.
All right. Well, this is what I've been seeing since this all went down. I think what happened was Fauci was doing gain of function research, right? And he wasn't supposed to. He didn't have permission, but in order for him to do the research, China knew this and wanted that technology. So what they did is probably use a honeypot or someone to get him to give him the research technology or information so they could have it.
So let me
That is really, really bad.
Let me connect the dots here and tell me if I'm wrong. So you think with Fauci and China, they use the American people as a science experiment?
Yes, because what they want to do is they want to take it further, but they do not have the same technology as we do. We create all the technology of the world.
Okay.
We are the brains. So here, this is what my worry is.
Make it quick because I got them lined up.
All right, they're going to take the gain function and create something that's going to be very pinpoint accurate, and they're going to unleash it on their enemies. I personally, if I were president, I would take out our enemies now. That's just take the hit, deal with it, because they're going to do something that's going to be way worse than war. That's my personal opinion. I'll let you talk. Thanks.
God bless you. I appreciate you. Somebody said turn on the CC, the closed captioning. There's no closed captioning for something live. There's no closed captioning for live.
First,
if there is, it's
before any of
super
us had
delayed.
ever heard of the Wuhan lab. Not only the Wuhan lab in the
I'll see if I can find it on
conversation, but
C-SPAN.
literally the scientist that you named in your own notes, the lead scientist that was there. It's interesting to me on that. And the questions I was going to ask you was just your background and knowledge about the Wuhan lab and Dr. Shi and all the details. I'm aware of where you have been on trying to be able to plead your Fifth Amendment right, which is your right to be able to do. But I also want to be able to find out some facts to be able to help us for the future on this. The Lawrence Livermore National Lab.
We'll go to C-SPAN. They have
Unclassified
closed
on this,
captioning.
that had this statement: we assess all the necessary conditions for an accidental release of a laboratory-modified coronavirus, specifically a coronavirus adapted to recognize human cell receptors, were present at the Chinese Wuhan Institute of Virology in mid to late 2019. Now, the question that I had for you is, this is May the 27th of 2020. This is the report that most people will see, is this. I have clearance. I serve on the Intelligence Committee. I've actually read this complete document unredacted. My concern is, were you given the ability to see this document unredacted? Based on your position, were you able to see this and to be able to get this information? I could see it, and I know what's here. Everybody else just has their conclusion at the beginning of it, not
all these long questions. He's going to say fifth.
this. My question to you was going to be, did you have access? Because it's important for the future that people in your position do have access to this kind of information and insight. Is there any way you could answer that question? Were you able to give access to this data?
Plead the fifth.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You wrote on January the 26th of 2020, we should be allowed to send our CDC epidemiologists to China to work with them so they could see the data firsthand.
Lines are open.
You also wrote at February 12th, 2020, that you had great concerns about the world.
Dawn in New York, what do you got?
Oh my God, I knew he would take the fifth. This was ground zero between Cuomo, Fauci, and the scamdemic in New York City. I closed 3 boutiques down, lost my living, lost my place to live. This is crimes against humanity. There is no justice other than a military tribunal, as far as I'm concerned, for crimes against humanity. Period.
The first statement, he was given 5 minutes to speak. He spoke for somebody said 2 minutes. We knew then that this was just him. He was going to sit here and make evil faces all day and plead the fifth. Now, I like the questions by the Republicans. These are great sound bites, but that's all they are. This is no teeth.
There's nothing that I can even hope for that'll be done by the federal government with this war criminal. He's a criminal. He's a murderer. He's a criminal. And the only way to handle him is Nuremberg trial situation, and a lot of other people, such as Andrew Cuomo, who lied to Congress as well and the Senate about his role.
Somebody just brought up a good point. They took the words right out of your mouth. Where is the International Criminal Court now? Thank you for calling, Don. God bless you. Great point. Where's the ICC now?
Dangerous research. What can we gain? And what advice could you give us to say in a future setting, we've got to make sure that we actually get information from people and we can be guaranteed that we're going to get that insight? Yes, sir.
Plead the fifth.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
I yield back.
Lines are open.
Senator Blumenthal.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Tricky Dick.
I want to go back to the dark days of the coronavirus.
Bruno, scale of 1 to 10, how upset are you?
Oh, well above a 10. Well above a 10. I got a question for you and everybody else in the chat. What does this do to the midterms if now, with everything that's being said, someone takes out Fauci? Whose blood is...
Republicans will get blamed for everything. Republicans blame for everything.
It will be blamed on the Republicans.
Yeah, Republicans.
We will get destroyed in the midterms.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you for calling, Bruno. Let's go here. Line 1. Where are you calling from? What is your name?
North Carolina. This is James.
James, North Carolina. What would you like to say this morning about this circus that we're watching?
What pisses me off the most is Anthony Fauci looked at me square in the eyes, through the TV, of course, and told me if I got inoculated, I would not catch COVID-19.
Oh, man.
So, as based on that and my wife's health, I took the inoculation and ended up catching COVID anyway. And
so he saved your life. He saved your life.
He knew the day he told me that was not true, or they weren't sure that was true. So he manipulated me And that's what pisses me off.
Here's the crazy part. This guy gets a retirement of $400,000 a year for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to spend that in jail.
Well, his wife could get it. They call that an apportionment. She could draw his retirement while he was in prison, but he'll never go to prison. He has a pardon. No. He's got a pardon. Thank you for calling, James. God bless you.
All right, you too.
Lines are open. Lines are open.
Zika, Ebola, and other epidemics with real life results saving.
Is this the guy that served in Vietnam or said he did?
Beside all the flowery rhetoric that we hear in the United States Senate, Dr. Fauci has saved lives, as have public.
Does anyone believe that Fauci saved your life? Boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Service. Republicans are eager to rebrand you as a villain in order to distract from their own failure to protect Americans from soaring healthcare costs.
I think they're going to brand him a villain.
They've been rising astronomically in the last
failure to
couple
pass
of years.
The SAVE Act.
And from unsafe food,
diarrhea,
which has caused cyclospora to spread,
diarrhea, yeah,
and resurgent measles as a result of the anti-vaccine policy. This hearing is the culmination of a years-long crusade, which started more than 6 years ago when Dr. Fauci dared to contradict President Trump. The campaign to vilify you, Dr. Fauci, is just one part of this larger campaign against science and facts, a campaign that has made Americans less safe. It is shameful that in a country like ours, a dedicated public service like Dr. Fauci has experienced persistent threats to his life since the pandemic because of the lies that are told about him. His attorney has been gagged, thrown out of this hearing room.
Oh.
But he has.
Now Democrats will say Republicans subverted the Constitution by removing the lawyer. Okay.
He is, in fact, invoking his constitutional right. It is a right. And I would ask that this letter from David Schertler and Danny Onato be made a part of the record if there's
Without
no
objection.
Let's grab this. Line 1. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
And I normally never call in twice, but under the law of the pardon, if he don't answer the question, ain't his pardon revoked?
Nope. We already talked about that. It's not revoked. Not revoked.
Oh, okay.
I looked it up. I looked up the law for that. His pardon is still good. Thank you for calling, Lisa. The pardon is still okay. The pardon is still okay.
And the reason that Dr. Fauci has invoked it, in the words of his attorney, quote, during and after the COVID-19 pandemic, Dr. Fauci appeared at least a dozen times for congressional hearings in the Senate alone in answer to questions about the very issues on which you...
Let's see who we got here. Line 1. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, this is Birdie. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling from North Carolina. God bless America. God bless Donald Trump, and I hope this guy gets fried.
I would love to see it. How upset are you going to be whenever nothing happens?
Very upset because we lost a family member. I had open heart surgery and damage to my left lung because my doctors kept forcing me to have the COVID shots or the jabs. And just because of this guy here, I can't hardly do anything. But God bless you, Ben, and I hope you have a blessed day.
Sounds like he took a family member and maybe your livelihood from you.
Yep. And I hope we have an option to sue him. And for every shot we all had, we should be paid $1 million for every shot we had.
I think that these companies that created them were given immunity.
Yep. Me too.
Thank you for calling. God bless you. Stay strong. Were they given immunity? I think they were. I think these companies were given immunity, like
The
Pfizer
power of
and
some of
Johnson
us
and
must be
Johnson and
used
all
for
them.
good, like putting Fauci in jail. That's from December 23, 2025. I want to give him a subpoena and a jail cell, also
too.
from December of 2025. The first was 2024. Those kinds of statements by the chairman of a committee in tweets certainly provide a well-founded fear that the proceeding underway is simply an effort to trap Dr. Fauci in some kind of criminal wrongdoing.
Wow.
That is not the purpose of a congressional hearing, not the valid purpose of a congressional hearing.
It's like this guy's giving an obituary. That's what this sounds like. This sounds like an obituary for America. I think this is an obituary for America. I personally believe that the Republican Party I don't know where we go from here. I'll tell you this. I am going to I think we need to do something more than what's happening right now. I think the Save America Act is a lot more important to me right now. I understand the ramifications of what happened. We've all got friends and family that we lost. I know that. I just don't know how we get around the Republican Party wasting time they're just wasting time right now. And that's what really bothers me here. That's what really bothers me.
And unfortunately, I fear that is what we are seeing today. America deserves better.
We do deserve better. We deserve better than these clowns. And they are clowns.
Amendment, then your attorney gets to testify. That's what that letter is. The attorney's complaining and testifying, saying, he didn't do it, the prosecution's unfair. You don't get to do that. That's one thing you give up when you take the Fifth Amendment. You say, I'm not going to testify. I'm not going to give you any information. You don't then get to put your lawyer forward to justify it. He can do it in the press, but you can't come and testify. He was not invited to testify, and he was out of order, and it was appropriate to have him ejected. Senator.
Chairman Paul, thank you for doing this. I think.
Let's grab this one. Line 1, where are you calling from?
Knoxville, Tennessee.
Good morning. What would you like to say, sir?
I'd just like to say I took the shot, and
You got to turn the audio down in the background. Call back. Call back. I can't hear it. Call back.
Trust in our federal government. You're not a hero. Unfortunately, you're a villain. You made yourself the story and abandoned the American people to serve your own ego. To begin, I would like to talk about your relationship with David Morenz. He was the senior advisor in the NIAID, Office of the Director, your office, for 16 years. He was your friend. He was a frequent guest at your house. You reportedly co-authored over 50 scientific articles.
They're going to say all of this, and then Fauci's going to say, I plead the Fifth.
Charged him with conspiracy against the United States, in addition to other charges as part of a conspiracy to conceal information and falsify records to suppress alternative theories about the origins of COVID-19.
Let's go here. Line 3. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Ben. This is Fran from Michigan.
Fran, Michigan. What would you like to say?
I would like to say this is a waste of time and money, and it's so typical. The Democrats are kissing Fauci's butt, and the Republicans are trying to make him look like the bad guy, and it's ridiculous. They need to get the Save America Act passed.
You know,
That's what
Fran,
they should be doing.
Fran, you make a good point. We all knew without watching this that Fauci is evil, right? We all know that, right?
Absolutely.
I don't see what we're getting out of this. The juice isn't worth the squeeze for me.
I agree, 100%. This is a waste of time. The Republicans just want to look good, making Fauci look bad. We already know he's an evil, you know what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for calling, friend. God bless you. Thank you for having some common sense. God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, this guy is a joker. I just don't know if I want to stick around for that. I think he's just a clown. We know he's an evil human being. We know this. Evil human being. And we know the news media covered for the guy. We know the news media covered for him. They continue to cover for the guy. They all are covering for the clown. And I want to hear this. Uh-oh. Trump just went nuclear. Uh-oh. Somebody just sent me this. Let's go here. I want to hear this. I'm a little more interested in this. Let's see here. Let's see what Trump said live on I'm glad she's wearing a cocktail dress at 5 a.m., though. I do like that part.
President Trump speaking to Fox just moments ago about the U.S.-Iran conflict. Trey Yanks has the information. Trey, what did the president tell you?
Yeah, guys, good morning. President Trump reacting to that Iranian attack on U.S. forces overnight in Jordan. President Trump tells Fox News about Iran, we are going to beat the effing S out of them. He went on to say, we'll be hitting them hard. They're going to get a beating. So clearly the United States is going to respond to what the president described as a surprise attack. He says U.S. forces had just minutes to shoot down these incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. The president says he has reviewed video of the shoot down and it was U.S. forces conducting this operation to defend that area. He said it was real time. They were calling out coordinates and
Okay. Yeah, on a lighter note, Trump's going to bomb the S out of them. FBI declassified chats. Okay. Biden memoir tapes. I feel sorry for the people watching that. I can't look at her ugly face. Here we go. Let's try this one. These are the people calling MAGA a cult.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.
There you go. I think with that.
Chief of the watch on the 1MC, pass the word. Dive, dive, sound 2 blasts of dive alarm, pass the word, dive, dive.
Dive, dive. Dive, dive.
Here we go again! Here we go again! Same old song again! Same old song again! Marching down the avenue! Marching down the avenue! We don't know who will be true! We don't know who will be true! A long, long time ago! Long, long time ago! Heard it on the radio! Heard it on the radio! Sounds so good to me! Sounds so good to me! U.S. Navy submarine! U.S. Navy submarine! Recruiter just inside here! Recruiter just inside here! Turns out I gave them 5 years! Turns out I gave them 5 years! Had to get out of boot camp! Had to get out of boot camp! They won't like the smoking lamp! They won't like the smoking lamp! Now I'm a submariner! Now I'm a submariner! Rolling in the deep surf! Rolling in the deep surf! Top secret mission, hush, hush! Secret mission, hush, hush! No one's gonna find us! No one's gonna find us! 6 months below the ocean! 6 months below the ocean! Can't remember the sun! Can't remember the sun! Can't write my wife no letters! Can't write my wife no letters! And Tony's gonna get her! Tony's gonna get her! But I won't trade this life away! I won't trade this life away! Makes it worth the Navy pay! Makes it worth the Navy pay! If I can't be a bobblehead! I can't be a bobblehead! Might as well just be be dead. Might as well just be dead. Long, long time ago. Long, long time ago. Heard it on the radio. Heard it on the radio. Sounds so good to me. Sounds so good to me. U.S. Navy submarine. U.S. Navy submarine. Left, right, left, right. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Coral Sea. I've been to Coral Sea. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Korea. I've been to Korea. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Vietnam. I've been to Vietnam. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Desert Storm. I've been to Desert Storm. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Afghanistan. I've been to Afghanistan. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where have you been? Where have you been? I've been to Iraq and back. I've been to Iraq and back. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Hey, sailor. Hey, sailor. Where will you be? Where will you be? I'll be where I have to be. I'll be where I have to be. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for liberty. Fighting for freedom. Fighting for freedom. Left, right, left, right. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
Okay, guys, gals, girls, it's Ben Dykes Show. Smash a like and subscribe on your way out the door. See you in the next one. Ben Dykes Show is out.
We could do boom shakalaka. We love the boom shakalaka, you know. Nobody booms and shakalakas as much as I do. I do it better than anybody.
Guys, a lot of people in the chat, I believe what we just saw was and it's going to go on all day. This is a big, giant nothing burger. I believe that the Republican Party should be focused on something else right now, and I think what fixes America is the SAVE Act. We all know that Anthony Fauci is a criminal, maybe a war criminal, at the levels that we haven't seen since World War II. But nothing's ever going to come of that. And B. Reigns for Prez, the 5th doesn't apply if you're pardoned. We already established, and we looked up the federal regulation, that the pardon does stand, and he does not have to testify. This was a giant, and it's going to go on all day. This is a giant campaign of rally for Republicans and for Democrats. Nothing's going to be done to Fauci. Nothing. Nothing. And I got to flush Fauci. I am absolutely pissed right now. I am absolutely pissed off right now that they think you are this dumb. They're trying to convince us that we are this dumb and that we don't understand what they're doing. We see through all of this, right? Through the view of the periscope, I see the beach, and the beach is the damn SAVE Act. They look so stupid right now. So stupid. You guys take care. I got to go wash my eyes out with some battery acid.